guys, I am Pixel Dan, and today we are going to be checking out the Masters of the Universe Masterverse, new Eternia Whiplash. Very special thanks to Mattel, who did send this over for the purposes of this review. I have really been enjoying the new Eternia section of the Masterverse line. It's sort of giving us reimagined versions of classic characters, which also have some design elements that tie to the creation of the character. Really fun stuff, and this Whiplash really stood out to me upon reveal because of that very interesting new armor and helmet that he's wearing, so I'm excited to take a look. Of course, he's in a window box packaging, and since he's one of the more deluxe figures, he's in the wider, kind of more squarish box design. Wrapping that around on the side there, we've got some gorgeous artwork on the spine of a very classic looking Whiplash, and that continues around to the backside with that beautiful artwork depicting the character in that new armor and helmet that is included. We also get a cross-sell showing some of the other figures in this particular wave, including Faker, Buzz-Off, both part of New Eternia. We got Princess of Power Grizzlor and the Revelation version of Merman. Really exciting stuff, but let's go ahead and get this Whiplash pulled out of this box, and we will get a closer look at him. Okay, let's start here outside of the box because we've got minor assembly with the tail here. And as you can see, the tail is made of a bendy material, but it is nice and solid, very solid tail. The rest of the figure, I will say the torso feels pretty lightweight, very hollow, and I would assume it's because they've got this extra chunk built on back here with the hole in here to fit the tail. But the tail has this long plug, snaps into place just like that. Very easy to do. Of course, you're going to need to bend the tail in order to stand him so that it's not just keeping him from standing because it's too long. So here is our Whiplash right out of the box, and we're going to start with him like this because he does come out of the box with all of this fancy new armor attached. If I bring in the tape measure, you can see that this figure comes up to about 7.5 inches tall at the top of his helmet here, making him pretty big. You're going to see that he stands pretty tall alongside some of the other figures in the line. So, what's up with this armor? What is going on with this particular version of Whiplash? Well, it takes inspiration from this original concept artwork for the character. Like all of the new Eternia figures so far, it's not necessarily meant to be an exact recreation of the concept art, but it does take inspiration, take certain elements from some of this original concept art to create a new version of the character, and that is exactly what we've got going on here. He's rocking this awesome pink and purple armor with a gray helmet there, and honestly, I think that looks really good. Something about those colors seems to work really well. The green and the purple and the pink. Now his orange belt is kind of peeking out underneath here. You'll notice because this is like an added loincloth piece. So we can remove that. And then like his standard orange belt is underneath that like you would see on the vintage toy. And I'll show you that more as we strip the armor off this guy, because one of the things that's so cool about all of these new Eternia figures so far is that they're coming with alternate ways to display the figures. You get these new looks that are inspired by the concept art, but you can also get a very standard looking character as well that is more inspired by the vintage toy. So the helmet is a removable piece on this figure. It's not an alternate head. They actually went with a removable helmet, and I think that is pretty cool. It is a bit of a pliable plastic, but it's not too bendy. It's actually pretty firm here on the top, and I was really impressed with just how well it form fits to the head, making it look like it could be an interchangeable head with the helmet sculpted on. It looks pretty good. I like that. And then of course this armor is also just laid over. You can see it's got a nice big gap in it for the big hunched back here with the spikes, but they are just like those classic MOTU straps, so it's easy to pull that off if you want to. In fact, if we want to go ahead and strip all of those parts off, I already undid that belt there, so that was easy to pull off. And then we'll go ahead and strip off the armor here as well. We're going to remove the helmet, and it does also help to go ahead and pop that head off the joint to remove the armor piece there off the shoulders. Interchangeable heads like we've seen with all of these figures so far, so very easily pops right back on the ball joint. And now you've got a much more standard looking Whiplash. He's just got the 2 shades of green, he's got the dark blue on the wrist base bracers, and the furry loincloth, and those nice clawed feet there, which by the way, I love the details there. Very cool stuff. But I don't know, I will say, I think I personally prefer this figure with the extra armor bits on there. Something about him just seems kind of, I don't know, plain this way? I don't even know if plain's the right word, because it's a classic looking Whiplash, so this might look totally fine to you. But I don't know, I feel like the arms have a bit of a weird lankiness to them, and I think that is due to the way the articulation is sculpted in the elbows there. It kind of looks like there's like a big chunk missing there. So it gives them like this lanky look. And one thing I want to talk about too, the articulation is interesting because as you can see, the way that it's designed and sculpted, he cannot fully straighten out his legs. He's always got these bent legs, very much like the vintage MOTU figures there. So it is still a double joint on the knee, but his knees are always bent, so he's always going to have this hunched over look. I would assume that's by design for the character, of course, but the arms are kind of the same way. They don't get fully straight. You've always got this little bend there, and I don't know, I think that is kind of what's adding to the weird lankiness of the figure there. The head sculpt is decent. I like that quite a bit, though it does look like it's got a little bit of a wash there, but a lot of this skin tone just looks a little plain as well. I think there is some wash in there. You can see there's a little bit of black wash that's kind of bringing out all the scales and the sculpt and everything there. The dark green on his body just looks kind of plain, though. I do wish there was like some highlights or something on there just to bring that out a little bit. So let's go ahead and talk about your articulation a little bit further. As you saw, it was a ball joint, though this is one of those figures that's sculpted with sort of the hunched over back, so his neck is kind of jutting forward a little bit. So that, of course, is going to change the way the articulation works on that ball joint. The shoulders can go upwards. We do have spikes on the shoulders that are going to slightly stop the arm movement, but they still go outwards pretty good. Forwards and backwards. Swivel at the bicep. You got those double joints at the bent elbows there. Swivels at the wrist. You got hinges at the wrist. These are also interchangeable hands. So he does include a pair of closed fists and a pair of open gripping hands. So you could do 2 closed fists, or you could do 2 gripping hands, and you can just attach the alternate hand just like that. And again, they all have swivels, and they all have the hinge joints. We got that cut at the torso up there, though it is going to be a little bit hindered because of that tail. That tail also swivels, as I showed you right where we attached it, and then it bends. Swivel at the waist. Legs can go outwards at the thighs, forwards, backwards, swivel at the thigh cut, double joints at the knees, but they are always bent. It actually kind of makes it hard to do the top bend there because his leg is just hitting right there. It's interesting. Swivel at the boot cut, and then the ankles can go forwards and backwards as well as rock side to side. The joints feel mostly good on this guy. We're a little loose on kind of like the ankles here. I wouldn't say that they're too loose, that they're floppy, but for the most part, I think the articulation feels pretty solid and holds up pretty well. Now, he does come with a bunch of weapons to go along with the different accessories, and since right now we've got him in that classic Whiplash look, we'll go ahead and bring in his orange spear, which of course is inspired by the vintage toy. This is kind of nice because it's molded in sort of like this pearlized orange plastic, so you can see it's got a little bit of a shine to it, but it is just straight orange otherwise, just like the vintage toy, and either one of his gripping hands can hold on to it to get a pretty good look for the character. Okay, so I got him back to his new look for these next weapons because these weapons are inspired by that concept artwork. We just have a brand new axe there. There's some like little plastic stringies hanging off here. I don't know if you can see those. Not that big of a deal. They just kind of come right off, but it's just molded in like a gray plastic there. And of course, his gripping hands should both be able to hold on to that. And then I really like this other accessory, and again, this is something that's seen in that original concept art. It's this torch accessory. And I also really like the fact that they included this removable translucent orange flame. Like, look at that. So you can have the torch without the flame on it. The flame just fits right over there. It holds on nice and tight. Very, very cool accessory. I like that. It's just something so different and original. I think it's a really, really fun accessory. And I think this right here is a very cool look for Whiplash. It just makes him stand out as something different that we've never really had before, and that's something that I really like about the new Eternia figures. Alright guys, how about a little bit of comparison time? And for this, we're just going to put him in that more standard look for Whiplash, and I want to stand him alongside the Masters of the Universe Classics version, since that is also a 7-inch scale collector's style figure, just so you can see what he looks like alongside this new version here. And because this new one sort of has a 2000X flair to it, let's go ahead and pose him alongside the 2000X version of Whiplash as well. And gosh, we've come this far. Here he is alongside the Origins version and the Vintage version. So there you go, my friends. There is a look at the brand new Eternia Whiplash action figure, part of the Masterverse line. For me personally, I definitely like this new look the best. And again, that's just because it's something that stands out as being different than what we've received before. All the other versions have all essentially had the same kind of look to them. And I like that we're tying back to the concepts with these. But the other thing that's so great about new Eternia is that so far they've given you the opportunity to display it two different ways. So if you don't like the new embellishments, you can just display a regular Whiplash. It's totally up to you. This is my preferred version, but I would definitely like to hear the version that you guys are going to display yours with. I want to give a very special thanks once again to Mattel for sending this along a little early so we can get a good look at it outside of the packaging. Mattel also confirmed that this Whiplash is a Target exclusive this summer, but in the fall will open up for other retailers, so that is good to know. No info on pre-orders just yet, but stay tuned to Target if you want to get them first. Otherwise, other retailers in the fall. Thank you guys so very much for watching this video, and until next time.